GM. This is it. This is the end. The final two big boards. I'm going to be hopping in now. Hopefully, I don't click the button and it says waiting for 11. We hit the button. We're waiting for 7. All right. So I am going to send the bat signal out, see if anybody wants to hop in these. If you are here, please feel free to join. Waiting for 7. If anyone wants in. Awesome. Kevin, thank you. Thank you for swinging by this morning. I was following your DK drafts yesterday. It seemed like you were having some success with the double elite tight end builds, at least over there. Excuse me, which is cool to see. I think I remembered looking over your teams and liking how those ended up. We'll see if the best ball gods make that a build that we can construct this morning. I don't really have a plan. I thought about doing like a super slappy draft, and then I realized like you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because all my drafts are super slappy, so that might not be a great bit. But we'll see what we get. Maybe maybe we'll flip the board. Maybe we'll try to take some players I haven't taken. I don't know. We'll see what we do. In all honesty, it'll probably just end up being somewhat standard drafts where I, reach 10 picks for Cam Scatterbo. I talk myself into more David Njoku, and, it ends up 3-8-6-3. But you know what? Before I make any picks, I can imagine a world where I break free of those chains and do something different. So we'll see. Probably not, though. Probably not. You're probably going to get a pretty standard draft, but maybe we'll come up with something for the absolute final one. But this is draft 149 out of 150, assuming I don't get any canceled in the next couple of days. Hopefully not. We are down to waiting for 3. If anyone wants to hop in, you are more than welcome. Always fun to draft with you all. I free feedback and commentary on your draft. I will, I've never actually sauced anyone's draft. I don't know that I've earned the right to do saucings just yet because frankly, I'm easily sauced myself, when it comes to my draft. I did a draft last year that was on the, I think it was on Ship Chasing. They did one, and Pat, Gretch, and Pete were on it, and I can't remember if Davis was on that one too. And they were reviewing all the teams, and my team was on there, and it was they were saucing the teams, and I'll never forget. I feel like Pat looked at my team, and it was like good-natured saucing, but the look of disgust when he saw my team, it felt like he wasn't acting. Like he saw my team and was like, this team stinks, and they're saucing it, but just the look. And I was like, man, I gotta work on my craft here. So hopefully we've learned from that. Greg, welcome. We are so close to getting some new players on our Dolphins, and God willing, things will turn around for us. I was watching Huhaim's stream yesterday. He's awesome, and he did a little mock, and I'm not trying to give away his stuff, but he had the Dolphins trading up to get one of the 2 elite tackles. I think he had us trading up to around 11 to do that, and I haven't seen that before. And he's and to me, every Dolphins mock I've seen has us getting like a corner or a safety, and I'm like, why are we drafting corners and safeties? Like we need O-line. So I would be surprised if we don't, try to shore that up, either moving up or moving down. I don't think there's anyone at our point in the draft who's supposed to be like necessarily the best pick there, but hopefully we do something. Yeah, I'm getting more depressed by the day. That's what I said. I was like, this makes way too much sense to actually happen. which is of course a little unfortunate, but that's kind of how it goes. We'll get the Ducks going here. Please tell me if they are too loud or too soft. I will happily adjust as needed. We are down to 2. If anyone wants to hop in, please, now is your chance. I am trying to get 2 drafts in before best ball breakfast begins. So being that this one took a few minutes to fire, I might hop in draft 2 around pick 15, 16 to make sure we get in under the wire there so that everyone can go over and watch Pete's stream, myself included. That is where I will be, what I will be doing next. I've got a nice little morning planned, little stream here, and then off to the gym, and with Pete's stream going on. So pretty exciting Monday. Hopefully some of you have the day off. I dropped my kid off at daycare, and like all the lights were off, and I was like, oh my God, they're closed today. Even though I checked yesterday and it said they were not. Turned out everyone was just running late, which is fine. But I did think I was getting an unexpected full day with the little guy, which my wife was working this weekend, so it's been all daddy daycare. So I am, I love him so much, but a few hours of freedom is always appreciated every now and then. If any of you have kids, you understand. If you do not, one day perhaps you will. Nick, welcome. GM, thank you so much for coming by. We're so close to being done with the big board. I really can't believe it. I really can't believe we were doing these like before the Super Bowl happened. We've been like, the Super Bowl feels so long ago, but like it really wasn't that long ago. It was like a little over 2 months, but it feels like a lot's happened, and yet really kind of nothing's happened. And that's what's funny about this, is how much we have these like seismic shifts in things in the big board. When like you zoom out on the chart, they don't seem that important, but like Najee Harris getting signed by the Chargers was a like earth-shattering event for us. But then in like the overall actual NFL, it's like, oh yeah, Najee's on the Chargers now. It's not that not that impactful necessarily, but we'll see. February is the longest month. It's science. Greg, I think there's something to this. Because the longest work weeks are the weeks where you get Monday off. And then the Tuesday to Friday there's some kind of force multiplier where it takes longer than a normal 5-day week. I don't know what it is. Fridays off is a different story. Friday off, the week is short. Monday off somehow doesn't help and somehow makes it worse. That's my theory on this. So maybe February being shorter actually makes it longer. So I think I'm on board. There's some kind of continuum that we found ourselves on with this. We are still waiting for one. Down to one. I'll even shout it out in over in ship chasing, see if we can get anyone who wants to join in. Big board, waiting for one. All right. Well, if that doesn't do it, I don't know what will. Oh my God! And we are live. And we're off. Of course, All right, we got the 2-hole here. Sorry. All right. I am like shockingly not great at multitasking for someone who spends their life like doing a DraftKings draft, making food, and surfing the internet. I don't know why I said surfing the internet. That's such an old term, but I multitask and everything. And then I get on stream and all of a sudden I'm like incapable of doing more than one thing at a time. But we are all here. The stream is still running and we have the 2-hole, which is exciting. I see you in here, Greg, at the 7. Don't think I see anyone else. I thought about doing something weird and flipping the board, but I think if Ja'Marr Chase is there at 2, I'm just going to take Ja'Marr Chase. I haven't seen Saquon go at the 1 in a long time. I think at peak Saquon season was right after the Super Bowl and the Eagles' remarkable run. People were taking Saquon with some more frequency there. That's cooled slightly, but I am happy to get Chase at 2. Best Ball on Call. Thank you so much for coming by. More than just an algo bump is what they are saying when Best Ball on Call arrives. But again, thank you so much for coming by, everyone. If you have not checked out Best Ball on Call, you should. Greg says, Brian is a homie, but I doubt he is in here. Brian over there at the 9-hole. Well, Brian is certainly more than welcome here, as long as they observe the standards of decorum that we all uphold here in this chat. No, yeah, Brian, that'd be cool if Brian came by. I don't think I know him. I love getting Lamb at the 7. To me, that's pretty nice. Surprised to see Puka fall all the way to 9. I guess I'm used to drafting on DK. He goes closer to 7. But we're definitely seeing people reaching up and getting their guys, right? Amon-Ra at 6, a little bit of a reach. Gene T at 8. I don't fault anyone who pulls Gene T into the first round because odds are, if you're not picks 11 or 12, there's a very good chance you don't get him. So if you want him, you've got to do that. Maybe you're a little bit behind teams early on in the cycle who got Gene T deep into the second round, but I think the players you get coming back are not such a drop off that you're not really behind. You just have some different pairings there. Tiger Uppercut, welcome. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for coming in this early. I noticed there was a lack of streaming happening at the 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific time slot. And I know people are hungry for best ball content when they wake up. Or maybe it's just me. But I am so glad to have you all here. And hopefully we can put together some fun teams today, because these are the last 2. Kevin, I see you here. I don't know how I missed you at the first glance. I thought it was just Greg who got in, but glad to see you in here. Anytime you can get BTJ and Brown, I'm typically not disappointed with that start. All right, I'll pull up the board. This is the better way for everyone to watch what's going on. Brock Bowers up at 14. See where we go. We've got Greg on the clock here. He goes elite tight end. So one of the people I was considering drafting off the board, but cannot fault you for taking him there. I actually like that. There's probably not Lamb and McBride is probably a little less common because McBride tends to kind of go a little further to the left on the board, but McBride certainly will not be there for you at 31. I think I will take one of these 2 running backs because this kind of clump of receivers I find is it's kind of a flatter tier. I'll take Jonathan Taylor on the off chance that Buck is here, because if I don't take him, I think he'll start yelling at me. But no, I like Taylor there. Certainly an argument to take Bucky, but Taylor seems to have one of those roles that is pretty well locked in, and there's a little bit of hidden upside. I think if A-Rich loses the QB competition we could see a little more upside in Taylor with a Jones with Jones at quarterback and Daniel Jones at QB. So we'll see. I personally think A-Rich will win the job, but I think there's a little bit of potential contingent value there. I will take Garrett Wilson. I think normally I'd want to mix up my exposures. I have a ton of Garrett Wilson. I could have taken Moore or McLaurin, who I don't have a lot of, but frankly, I think Garrett Wilson is kind of head and shoulders above. Remember, we were taking him at 11, 12, and I think now we have a quarterback who's kind of going to lock in on him, potentially a little bit better offense. He's not going to have to deal with Devontae Adams. I don't understand him going at 26. I think he is being mispriced, and I will die on this hill. Hopefully I don't die on the hill. Hopefully I'm standing on the hill, proudly waving a flag. But you know, I don't know who said it, but it's become famous that we're all going to lose anyway. But if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose with Garrett Wilson there. Not just you. East Coast morning crowd is underserved. I agree. I think there's a lot of people who like to have streams on, like, in the background. I am your classic audio listener. I tend to just have my earbuds in, and my phone may or may not be near me. And so I'll I'll pop into the chat, but I usually don't have like the board up when I'm watching a stream. So I'm pretty reliant on narration. Sometimes obviously I'm sitting there and, if I'm like engaged in the chat or whatnot, but I frankly, if I'm watching a stream, it's usually almost like radio for millennials. You used to say millennial and people would picture someone who's young, and now it's like kind of your like dusty curmudgeon. But yeah, I mean, I guess if the shoe fits, right? But looking at the board though, not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. Our first QB goes off at 36. I have been drafting way more on DK because I had a lot more of their, I don't even know what they call it, their training camp, whatever their version of the big board is. I have been doing those, and the QBs go so much earlier there. But Brian, your friend Brian, who's not in the chat, gets Daniel's McLaurin, which feels pretty nice here. Yeah, I think earlier in the draft cycle, you were seeing that people taking McLaurin over here at the 2-3 turn. So getting him not just at the 3-4 turn, but a little closer to the middle of the board, that's pretty nice to pair him with Neighbors and McCaffrey. To me, that's a very strong team going on. Agree with Greg about about our EDT community here. I passed on a DK draft to come join you. Kevin, thank you. You are one of the real ones. I appreciate you doing that. I hope you're able to max it. It sounds like you are. But I know people, I like to think people come in here to enjoy the stream, but I think they're actually just like scooping value because they're like, this guy is an exploitable edge. But I will tell myself it's because we have a strong community forming. I'm going to take Kittle at tight end. If this guy takes Burrow, that's fine. I don't take a ton of Burrow. I may actually take him though, but it's so hard for me to take Burrow ahead of Hurts. Like even with Jamar Chase, I don't like to do it. You know what? I'm gonna do something a little weird, guys. I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna pass on the stack, and you may say that's bad, and you may be right, but I think there is a world where Chase has a big week 17. And I don't think it's out of the question that Jalen Hurts would outscore Joe Burrow in that scenario. So I don't know. Maybe I just mega minded things there, but I think I just ideologically cannot take Burrow ahead of Hurts with the potential upside that Hurts brings. Which also means somebody may get a big faller on Burrow because the T. Higgins drafter passed on him and I passed on him. So we will see where he goes. Kevin, this better go well. I mean, that's what I say. That's what I say. Snipe your stack. Kevin, if Jalen Hurts makes it to 58 and you take him with Lamar, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here, Kevin? No, I know. I see. That's the advantage of having the board up is you can pick up on these things here. Wow, this guy gets Debo. He's got the Commanders triple stack. Brian must be stopped here. We got to get Brian into the channel, but he's really kind of the star of the show. Unfortunately, guys, you thought you were coming to this stream. You're actually coming to a Brian H889 appreciation hour. Let's see though what Greg has cooking. He double taps some running backs there. I like all of those players you've got. Kevin, I like your start here. BTJ, Brown, Devontae, Lamar, and then Chuba Hubbard. I was unironically taking Hubbard at like 49, so getting him at 58 seems good in my opinion. I'm not afraid of Rico Dowdle. This is again one of those situations where, like, if you're losing work to Rico Dowdle, maybe you're not that good and the bet was never going to pay off anyway. So I'm not any more worried about him losing work to Rico Dowdle than I am any player just not being as good as we hoped. Burrow may make it back to you. He really might, which is okay. All right. Tony Hurd. Yeah, that's the emergency great class in case of emergency stack for Burrow. The Chase Brown drafter will sometimes be the buyer of last resort, and that's what happened here. So he did not make it. One of my first Hampton squads, a little late to the party. Yeah, Hampton, I think I'm around market and I wish I had more, but it seems like all the steam is everywhere they project him to go is good. If he goes, I think I've seen him mock to both the Bears and the Broncos. I think the Raiders picked too early for that, but if he goes to either of those teams, he's an absolute smash, because he's going to be going places with where he's just head and shoulders better, and those two offenses like to run the ball. So we could be taking Hampton a full round and a half higher in BBM, and I don't think I'd be surprised. Boomfire does not want to be left out at running back. This person, Boomfire, is assembling a very boomer squad. So we don't know if Boomfire is short for Boomer Fire. Maybe that was taken. But anytime you have Henry, Cook, Najee Harris, and Mike Evans, who's kind of like the most boomer receiver, and Amon Ra is just like the kind of safe meat and potatoes guy. So I think we know what kind of guy Boomer Fire is. But they seem like the kind of guy who might like lend you their lawnmower, or give you some fatherly advice. So I'm in on Boomfire. He's kind of guy you like having in your neighborhood. Speaking of people to have in your neighborhood, I think I'm going to take Judkins here. Once again, there's kind of a pile of receivers I'm all somewhat equal on. And at 95, 98, the running backs get grim. So I don't want to be fishing for running backs there. If I sort by ADP, that's kind of QB, tight end, maybe a falling receiver land. So happy to add Judkins to the team, and likely to add a one of these wide receivers to the room. Question, of course, is who, but we will wait for J. Cole 2 to make their selection. He takes Reed. So there are arguments to be made for literally any of these receivers. I think I'm gonna take Egbuka. Again, every time I do these drafts, I say that having one of those overlays would help to know exposures, because for me that would probably be kind of an exposure-y selection. I'm a little lower on Myers and Shakir than probably the rookies and Pickens. I think there's, again, I think this is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. If Egbuka really does go to the Packers, I think that's sort of the dream spot for him, because there's a lot less competition there. And actually, that's not true. There's a ton of competition there, but there's a ton of kind of mediocre competition there that I think he can break through on it. And if they do take him in the first, that signals they think he really is the alpha, because the Packers historically have been allergic to taking receivers in the first round. It's sort of one of the reasons Aaron Rodgers and them relationship went to zero, is because they just refused to get him any help back when Aaron Rodgers was an elite QB, not the Aaron Rodgers we all remember now. So again, I think anyone who has truly strong opinions over some of these receivers, then I guess you get your guy. But to me, it's, I'm going to try to just let the market dictate things there. My ideal landing spot for Judkins, I don't know. I mean, ideal or most realistic, because ideal would be the Raiders passing on a running back in round 1 and then they take him in 2. That would be ideal. Again, realistic. Maybe like the Steelers. I guess I'm trying to think of teams that would be, because I think he's going to go in the second round. So then I'm kind of trying to think of teams that wouldn't have taken a back in round 1, but need somebody in round 2. I think kind of a sneaky spot would be like the Commanders. But again, you asked ideal. Ideal is the Raiders. But I think something like Washington, I think they're live to add a back, and I would not be upset if you went there, because I think Brian Robinson is pretty replaceable. I don't know if they're really truly committed to him, and he could be kind of an early down bruiser to take some of the load off of Daniels in the rushing department, because we all are assuming perfect health for Jayden Daniels, but the knock on him going in the year is that he's slight of frame and he could get injured. And well, he didn't get injured year 1, so we're all like, oh no, he's good. But he did have that rib injury, which limited him for a couple weeks. And I don't know. I do think that is, again, we can't predict injury, but we also can't be surprised when maybe we were not wrong about Daniel's potential injury concerns. We were just early. And to say I actually wasn't worried. I drafted Daniels hand over fist last year, but he was in the 9th round. And there's a huge difference between taking Daniels in the 4th round and in the 9th round. So looking at our friend Kevin's team, Kevin returning to his wide receiver roots. Kevin, I make no promises that Brock Purdy will be there for you at 106 as a QB2, but I will keep my fingers crossed for you there. I like the Luther Burden pick. Greg double tapping a couple quarterbacks, adding Caleb to stack up with DJ Moore, and Kyler with McBride. All very sensible picks, and we are in the range where QB should go. So I like the team that you all are putting together. I am coming up here. Let's see. Maybe regret the Kittle pick a little bit. I think if I maybe was thinking about it more, I kind of know that this 1-2 turn is fertile ground for your Andrews Jonnu, and I could have had an elite receiver there. I would have taken Jaylen Warren, but he is no longer available. I'm going to queue up Justin Fields here, and I think I'm just going to take Fields oh my God, I had Jalen Hurts. Oh my God, what am I doing, guys? I forgot I took Jalen Hurts. Well, I'm done at quarterback. I'm done at quarterback. Maybe this is what you need. I don't tend to like to build like this. Not great, guys. But I will take Christian Kirk on this team. That was brutal. I probably should have taken Kirk and Downs or Kirk and Moody or whomever, or done literally anything else. But alas, remember earlier, let's go back to earlier in the stream. I said I was not good at multitasking. Well, it turns out streaming and drafting are two tasks, and doing them at the same time is not without risk. It's fine. What if Hurts Fields is what you need? Tyler, thank you so much for stopping by. You were just in time to see me take Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields on the same team. Not the greatest. Not something I love to do, spending that much draft capital on QB early, particularly when one of those QB's names is Justin Fields, who is capable of putting up 3.5 fantasy points in a given week. I know we all like to focus on upside, but Justin Fields is capable of being god awful. Let's see, Kevin chiming in with some positivity. Hurts naked there is fine, and you have your QB2 stacked with his wide receiver 1. It's not that bad. Thank you. Yeah, and I know it's not that bad. I guess, people do unironically like take a couple of elite QBs. I just tend to not like to build that way. I would have preferred to take Hurts and then maybe 2 later round flyers, but it's more that I legitimately forgot I had Hurts when I took Fields, so that's not great. That's not great. Kevin, however, building a sensible team, adding Mark Andrews and our friend Greg taking Jordan Mason, who has flown up draft boards all the way to 103 here. Someone I wish I had been taking more of earlier, but frankly, I think he's going to be the goal line back in Minnesota, and it might be a lot more of a 1-2 punch than the Aaron Jones community is hoping. And again, speaking about injuries, Aaron Jones not the bastion of health, so I think you're going to get that combination you really like that we saw with Chase Brown last year. I'm not really comparing Jordan Mason to Chase Brown because they're very different players, but Chase Brown had a job and contingent upside, right? Chase Brown was still useful even when Zach Moss was there, but then he also had upside. I think Jordan Mason is in that mold of player who's going to have a job, but then also has really big upside. So I have been definitely Jordan Mason pilled. Kevin, Brock Purdy comes all the way back to you at 111. It is truly a good day to be Kevin. I hope this was worth skipping your DK draft for, but from my eyes, it was, because you've got a strong team coming together. I did see Scatabo going off at 101. He seems to be a pretty big riser in the last few weeks. On DK, I think I'm at like 45% Scatabo. On Underdog, I think I'm about closer to 24-25%, which to me doesn't sound high enough, but it's also like 3x the field, so it's a lot. But I am extremely high on Scatabo coming into the year. For reasons I don't need to delineate for the 50th time, but I think he's going to have a job in the NFL, and I think he is a highly talented player. We are now coming up to the deadest portion of the draft. My gosh, this is the list of names like before the rookies get exciting. You're still dealing with players who are like running around on the field, but it's not that thrilling, especially in the running back department. My gosh, I think to me this is kind of a range I'd like to pass on, and I'd rather just load up in the later rounds than take like Brian Robinson Jr., who I really think is going to get replaced by one of these rookies. But we will see. Jimmer Range winds the clock, takes Goff. I'll take Rashid Shaheed. I like him as a fifth receiver. He was starting to come into his own as more than just that vertical deep threat. Obviously, there is a lot of risk in the New Orleans offense that I do not know what's going on there. They may not know themselves, but I'll take the chance on a guy who can be a legitimate like week winner type play. He does have that huge upside, and he was starting to get more manufactured touches and shorter routes versus just the really deep vertical stuff. I think I'm going to take Rashad Bateman as a sixth receiver here. Kind of a boring pick, but I don't mind him. I don't foresee Baltimore adding another receiver in the draft. You never know. But I think they seemed happy enough with him. Not expecting huge things, but does seem like a guy who can at least hit your lineup and maybe spike a week or two as a sixth receiver here. I love Njoku. Definitely considered taking him there, but being that I did make the big detour on Kittle, I think it made more sense to take Bateman, especially because my plan later in this draft is really just to hit wide receiver hard, and I feel pretty good about this receiver room as constructed. Getting a elite QB early and then a quality QB2 at 100 to 110 is perfectly okay to do. Yeah, I think, Kevin, my reaction was more that I like forgot I had Hurts already. So it was sort of, I think if I had planned it, I still might have made the pick. But being that I then looked at my roster and Jalen Hurts is sitting there, kind of making this face of like, what are you doing, buddy? But I think those two are going to get along in this room. We're going to be duking out for wide receivers. Unfortunately, I went uber balanced and currently regretting it. Greg, I think your team is strong here. I mean, you've got your stacks. Now you've added Dak to the crew. So you've literally stacked Caleb, Kyler, and Dak with their number one options. You got a huge faller in Njoku there to stack with McBride. I don't need receivers late, so you're not going to be competing with me. So I think your team is actually quite strong. I got no issue with that. I think if you really want to be arguing with best ball people, the question is should you have taken that third QB or not? I think that's the big question. Me, I'm kind of a 3 QB truther because I do think 2 QB is so fragile, and I know it's like, week 17 is all that matters. And in the week 17 is all that matter. People scoff at the you got to get their first bros, but the you got to get their first bros are not without a point. It is hard to get through week 15 and 16. And I think the upside of the third QB, I think third QBs hit your lineup more than people realize. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. Maybe it's a little early taking 3 QBs through 10. That is a lot of draft capital, but you also do have 3 really good stacks. So I am certainly sympathetic to the concept of what you're putting together there. So I think for me, the question is, do I take Dallas Goedert here as a second tight end, possibly a stack with Hurts? I think the answer is going to be yes. And then I will take another running back. Maybe should have just taken 2 backs here, But frankly, I feel like Dallas Goedert at 143 is kind of a steal. I think Dallas Goedert should be going in the 120s. If he gets traded, it's going to be a team that uses him. I don't really understand fully the Dallas Goedert fall, at least not, falling as precipitously as he has. So I will then add DJ Giddens, one of the more high upside, exciting rookies. I have a lot of Devin Neal that I kind of wish I don't. I am, again, ideologically opposed to taking Javonte Williams with actual, American dollars. And Garendo and Harvey, they would have been perfectly fine picks. But, we were talking about Giddens in the Discord today, so maybe that makes sense. Slayton NWI squad. Every squad is a Slayton Westbrook Ikine squad. Keep the Chief GM, my friend. Thank you so much for coming by. Glad to have you here. Tiger Uppercut agrees with the Goedert pick. Thank you. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Like I think Goedert is. We're going to be taking a lot of running back darts. I like RJ Harvey, right? It's really, I like double tapping Harvey Giddens. It feels good. I don't know why those two in my mind are very paired. Maybe it's because it's DJ and RJ and they're projected similar late in the draft, even though RJ Harvey is, I think he's like 24. So he's a little bit older of a prospect, but still, again, I love how in the draft we talk about like a 24-year-old, like he needs like a cane and a walker. And it's like, no, man, that's still pretty young, but I suppose by rookie running backs, that is sort of a veteran. But we did see that work out with Ray Davis, right? That was kind of the knock on him, was that he was an older draft pick, and we're not scared of taking Ray Davis. Kevin's certainly not scared of taking Ray Davis, snapping him off at 154, going triple running back here with Bigsby, Sampson, and Davis, taking a few darts on rookies and younger players. Jacksonville, to me, one of the more interesting points in the draft. What they do, will they take a running back early? To me, I think if I'm them, I'm taking one, because I think Etienne and Bigsby are terrible. So if they took like Gene T at 5, I would not personally be super surprised. They've got a whole new regime there, and I feel like sometimes when you get new blood in, they really want to kind of build the team in their image. And what would be more that than taking, this, I don't want to say, we use generational too much, right? Like we're kind of like generations in like rabbit years. We've had a lot of generations within one generation, but we do think Gene T is a very high level prospect. So I don't know. I could see them going a little bit, surprising people and taking Gene T early. And who knows, maybe that sparks a little running back run. Greg here takes Rico Dowdle. He's certainly someone I was taking earlier in best ball. Maybe should have kept taking him because there's at the very least there's contingent upside in Carolina. I think Carolina's offense is going to be better. I'm really high on Hubbard, but again, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be taking, at worst, the backup, and at best, maybe it is a little more of a 1-2 situation than us Hubbard truthers want to believe. Speaking of backups, I will just add Braylon Allen to this team. God willing, the Jets don't draft two more running backs this year, but you never know. You never know what these teams are going to do. Maybe could have taken Adam Thielen, but if I'm going to take a dart, at least I know Braylon Allen. Well, I don't know anything, but I assume Braylon Allen is still going to have a role with the Jets. I think it's going to be a little more of an even split with Hall. I think it could be kind of a three-headed nightmare, to be completely honest, with the Jets, with them working Isaiah Davis in on some of the passing down stuff. But I do like Allen. When he was given opportunity, he was very good. So I do not mind adding him to the team. I will also add Damian Martinez, who everyone just wants to mock to some, blue collar, hard nosed NFC North team. Everyone wants to imagine Damian Martinez as a Steeler grinding the ball, or as the kind of the early down back in Cincinnati or in Cleveland. I think the only team I haven't seen him mock to in the NFC North are the Ravens. If he goes to Baltimore, I will not be happy, because that does feel a little like running back Siberia for anyone that they draft. Goddard and Likely are the two that I slam when I see them at the price currently. I agree with this. I think Likely is a guy I did not take enough of early. I wish I got more of him, because he's a guy, again, I like these guys who have a job but massive contingent upside, and there's a chance that Andrews leaves. Does that mean then Likely's going to be taking 100% of the snaps? No, they do different things. But we have seen with Andrews off the field, Likely's role does jump up quite a bit. So I wish I had more Likely. And Goddard, we went over Goddard earlier. I really don't understand the fall on him. He's a very good player, and if someone trades for him, it's going to be to play him. And if he stays in Philly, it's like, yeah, Philly's not the best tight end spot. That offense is hyper condensed, and they do have games where the passing volume is super low, and Goddard's going to have his share of 0 to 3 target games, but he's also going to have games where that offense is just blooming, and he's has multiple touchdown upside, and if one of the two receivers gets hurt, he has stepped in and been huge. I can't remember if it's Smith or AJ Brown is out, but he's had some monster games when one of those receivers has been out. Not a Rico Slappy, but he should be pretty safe from the RB class. Yes, I think it would be really odd for Carolina to add anyone with serious draft capital. Every team, a lot of teams are going to take running backs late, but there's a big difference in that, like going back to the Ravens, like they took Rasheen Ali, and that didn't really mean anything for anybody, right? Like I don't even know if that guy's still going to be in the league, but they took him pretty late. So teams take flyers on these backs, or they take guys they think are going to fill specific roles. But yeah, as far as early draft capital, I would be pretty surprised to see the Panthers do anything there. Good news in this draft is I think we're pacing pretty well to where I'll fire up the next draft after this one, or at least after I make my picks at 19 and 20. Jedi taking Brashard Smith, who is one of my favorite later rookie running back clicks. Greg taking the allure of A.D. Mitchell. Again, he's a guy that I've seen go undrafted over on DK quite a bit. I don't know if people are just out on him, but he's worth a flyer in these round 16 to 20, where again, round 16 to 20 is really get your guy season. There's almost no difference in projection between these players. So if there's a guy you like, waiting on them can really burn you. I mean, unless you're taking like Marcus Yarns, you can wait on Marcus Yarns, but for the most part, a lot of these guys are going to be interchangeable as far as what they do for your team. The question for me is, I'm now at the point where all of these running backs are really kind of the same, or I don't want them. Apologies, Greg. I am going to take Jalen Tolbert. I know you have Mr. Dak Prescott on your team, but I do like Tolbert. Depending on what Dallas does in the draft, Tolbert could still be out on the field quite a bit. I think Dallas's offense is going to be better. So I will take Tolbert there, and my choice here would be Dyami Brown, who it does sound like is really going to be out there opposite BTJ. Oh, dynamic Brown goes. So now I am back in the position of finding somebody I want here. I know it's scintillating stuff when you're just picking a. I'm going to take Freiermuth. I guess there was an argument for me to stop at 2. I think you could stop at 2 with Kittle and Goddard. Maybe that would have been better. But I do feel like Freiermuth can be a little bit of a spike week guy. I'm only going to take 2 QBs on this team, so I have one extra spot. Obviously, in retrospect, I wish I had taken Brown before Tolbert, because I think Brown is going to be safe to be the other outside receiver in Jacksonville, where Tolbert is, it sounds like the Cowboys are likely to bring somebody in. So where does that leave Tolbert? Hopefully still as the 3, but we will see. All good. How'd your chance went, AD? Yeah, I mean, again, if we're getting upset about, I'm not saying you are, but like just the global if we're getting upset about like Jalen Tolbert getting sniped, then we may have lost the plot a little. Like, yeah, I got upset about Dyami Brown getting taken. Like, that's going to seem really silly at some point. Well, hopefully, anyway. I think Tolbert holds on to his wide receiver spot regardless of who they draft. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And so if I can take a guy who I think is going to be the 3 in what I perceive to be a better offense next season, they're going to get their quarterback back. They're going to add someone at running back, hopefully. It could just be it could just be a lot better of an offensive situation. And, again, a little contingent upside for wide receivers can be kind of weird, because it's not like running backs where it's a little more plug and play. But Tolbert really did do well when Lamb, was off the field and the season was kind of imploding. Like, he did kind of shine when given that opportunity. So I don't know. I don't mind Tolbert as one of these later round dart throws. So I'll pull up the board, and I have 3 picks remaining. So it'll be 2 running backs and 1 receiver that we will take on this team. Looking over, Isaiah Bond going at 203. My goodness, I thought I removed him from the ranks, but I saw him still in there, and I have some significant concerns about Isaiah Bond. I was taking a lot of him because I was like, oh, we're all just dinging him because of the combine. He just, wide receivers can, they can be boisterous. They're not shy. Like, they're gonna say, I'm gonna do this thing, and if they don't do it, then they're, gonna make some excuse as to why it didn't happen. So I thought we were all kind of unfairly dinging Bond for, running 1/10 of a second, I guess 2/10 of a second slower than he claimed he could run. But now a lot of this off the field stuff is coming out, has me genuinely worried that we're getting Jermaine Burton 2.0 with probably even less upside than Jermaine Burton had. So I have backed off of Bond's. If we can write off of Bond's combine stuff, why are we killing Restrepo? I've come around to Restrepo. Restrepo is a dog. Restrepo ran on a busted hamstring because, he knew all those scouts came to see him run, and he was not going to let them down. So, I'm in on Restrepo. One of 2 things I think is true, right? We've either got to be really in on like Restrepo and like Arroyo, or maybe Cam Ward's really good. Like, maybe Cam Ward made these not very good players look draftable, and we're all gonna be like, wow, Cam, what are we doing taking Cam Ward at 150? Like, Cam Ward is legit. Because I do think it's possible that Cam Ward made a lot out of potentially not the greatest crop of receivers available. I would have taken Juwan James there. I think Sorry, I am picking. I'm going to take Raheem Sanders here. Yeah. Yeah, this guy's got a nice little squad going. Yeah, Jordan James, I think, is going to get a little more draft capital than maybe we're expecting. I think seeing him next to Bucky, I think some of his efficiency numbers were actually a little better than Bucky. I don't think the consensus is that he's as good, but at least he was able to make it a competition when they were together at Oregon. So I think, James is the kind of guy that the NFL is going to like and might give a little more draft capital than perhaps we're expecting based on where we're taking him here. I think my preference would be Westbrook-Ikhine, but we will see what J. Cole does. J. Cole has been reading my mail this year. Okay, so I'm going to take Westbrook-Ikhine. And then I'm going to queue up a who's who of running backs, including Nepo Baby, Trevor Etienne. I'm putting Donovan Edwards in there. My greasy Donovan Edwards theory is that Jim Harbaugh is going to look at Donovan Edwards like the one that got away. And, everyone thought that the Chargers were going to draft Blake Corum last year because Harbaugh, was going to get his Michigan guy. What if his Michigan guy is his true love, Donovan Edwards? In fact, I'm going to move Donovan Edwards up here. Now, in most mock drafts, I don't think Donovan Edwards gets drafted. So this is probably absolutely wrong and is not grounded in reality. But if I'm going to make a 20th round pick, I will take the guy who is on the cover of NCAA football and then appears to have forgotten how to play football. But something weird happened with Edwards, and I'm going to leave the light on for him. I'm going to just hop in the next draft now. If anyone wants to hop in, feel free. I am joining now. This is the last one. So let's see. Waiting for 4. So if anyone wants to hop in, please feel free. I'm going to go back over to this one. But I will ping the Discord to let them know. But otherwise, yeah, let's see. Waiting for 3. All right. So I will go over the team here. We've got Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, so a little 2 QB setup here. Jonathan Taylor, Quinshon Judkins, DJ Giddens, Braylon Allen, Damian Martinez, Raheem Sanders. Pretty dicey RB room, looking back on it. This is a team that's really going to be relying on Jonathan Taylor and really needs Judkins to latch on somewhere where he's kind of starting on day one. So, looking back on this, maybe, some of these Shahid Bateman picks should have been running backs, but again, the running backs in that range are really dodgy. So, wide receiver room: Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Egbuka, Christian Kirk, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Tolbert, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, with tight end room of Kittle, Goddard, and Freiermuth. So again, going back, maybe the Goddard pick could have been like RJ Harvey. Maybe I'd feel a little better about the RB situation. But again, if there's ever a year to go 0 RB, it theoretically is going to be this one where we have so many rookies that people are in on. I'll pull up the draft board if anyone wants to kind of see who people are taking late. Wow, Ja'Cory Krusky Merritt goes. I don't think he's drafted in every competition. Brian, our friend Brian here, Brian who's not in the chat, going 4 tight end late. Interesting stuff there. I don't think he had a tight end early. I certainly hope not. Okay, no, it doesn't look like it. Jedi taking Joe Flacco. So some interesting names coming off the board. Audric Estime, he's a guy that best ball people like to argue about. I personally think being made inactive in the playoffs says to me that the coaches don't believe in you. Why is he all of a sudden going to be heavily involved next year? I know people say it was a matchup thing with Kansas City, but to me, that's making excuses. So what I'm doing here is I'm making fun of somebody who's in the NFL on a team, and I'm about to draft Donovan Edwards, who's going to be a UDFA. So, again, do as I say, not as I do. In fact, don't do as I say. I don't even know if I would do that, but I will end the team with Donovan Edwards because I've got a feeling, and in the 20th round. In the 20th round, that's what you can do. So the other big board, oh my gosh, it is off and running. My goodness. And I have the 12 hole. So here we go. Our friend Buck, I see you in here. Brian is in this draft too. Brian, who's not in the chat. And I don't, keep the chief. Good to see you here at the 9. Good to see you in here. So I am here at the turn. The good news is seeing that Gene T went means I will at least get one of the elite receivers that I like to be able to grab. One of the Amon-Ra, Nico Collins neighbors. I will get one of those 3, if not 2. Maybe Billy Waz really likes, CMC or something. You never know. So Buck gets a small ADP value on Bijan. So there goes Nico, meaning I get Malik Neighbors. So for my last draft of the big board, I'm going to go Neighbors CMC. Yeah, and I don't really know what else to say. CMC, if CMC, as the summer goes on, if we get news that CMC is healthy, he's going to be in the middle of the first round, if not earlier in the first round. So I certainly think at the back end of the draft, he's worth the flyer. So more than happy to add him. Definitely considered adding Brock Bowers. Considered going Bowers CMC, but again, I don't like to pass on one of these, one of this tier of receiver when you do get it at the 12 hole, because so often at the 12 hole, you're kind of just making creative 2-man combinations, trying to get different, trying to, pick guys you think should have been in the first when I get somebody who the market has dictated is a first round player. I'm more than happy to do that. Abandon the run gets Bowers all the way at 18, which is a little bit of a fall. Our friend Keep the Chief opens with Puka and A-Chain, and let's see what Buck does. Buck of YouTube fame did a great video with Davis on the subject of Brandon Ayuk, among other things. I certainly recommend checking that out. Buck, you did a phenomenal job on that. I really did enjoy the video. AJ Brown, another guy we were taking last year, either in the first round or right at the turn, fell this year. I am always happy to end up with an AJ Brown share in the second round. So far, so good. I think this draft, I don't see any truly heinous auto drafters taking place. So we should be able to get out of here before Pete comes on with Best Ball Breakfast. Thanks, buddy. More to come there with Davis. Awesome. Well, I am looking forward to that, Buck. The people need debates. That they do. And if you are known for one thing, Buck, it's conspiracy theories. No, it's the debates. It's the good debates that we have, and also the conspiracy theories. But that was my introduction. I remember when you came into the Ship Chasing Discord, or I first noticed you in there. I was like, this guy's got some opinions. I like this guy, and that has held up as best ball season has unfolded, and I am glad to see you out there making those videos. I do think, I guess I will make this quasi announcement. I think I'm going to try to do a camera for future streams for BBM and whatnot. Really, it's the fact that I don't have a good webcam and I just have the pinhole camera, and the way my mic is, I have to kind of lean towards it, so it would just look absolutely awful if I were to have it on. So, I think I do want to try that, and because it's a little more interactive than my little avatar in the bottom corner. You can see my genuine reactions when I discover I drafted a second quarterback unintentionally. Turned me into a quasi Ayuk slappy knee bag full of ligament shards at all. I was not converted, but I did like the argument, and I was willing to listen to the debate. I will say that. I put on my Buck Inspired tinfoil hat and took Ayuk in our draft that ended just before this one. See, Buck, you're moving markets. Like they're calling this the Hunter video of our generation. The way that you have pulled up Brandon Ayuk. This guy has some opinions, is the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. Buck, you have some truly fantastic opinions. The backstory behind the yellow face, pink hair avatar. My God, I guess that's what it is. It's a crypto thing. It's from an artist called Xcopy, and it was one of his projects. Like did avatars, and so it's from when I was doing a lot more crypto than I am now. Frankly, I don't have the time to devote to like being as deep in the crypto streets as I once was. So I don't do that nearly as much as I did, but I have kept the avatar because it's sort of just been what I made my avatar so long ago. Now I feel like it'd be odd if I changed it. I will take Xavier Worthy here, and I feel like wide receiver got thin. Maybe I'm just not used to drafting from the 12 over here. Where am I picking next? At 60. I think I'm going to take Hampton here. I may live to regret this because I do think I like the running backs that come at 60, and I really think this range of Devonta, J-Mo represents a little bit of a tier break. Maybe I would have preferred to grab one of them, but I am becoming more and more Hampton pilled as time goes on. GM finally caught you live. Yeah, I know this is early. This is early for most people, but I did want to get this in before Best Ball Breakfast came on, and then it becomes harder for me to do these in the afternoons. So you got the same start I had last draft. Brian, tell me, what do I do? What do I do next? Where do I go from here? Because I feel like, it's been a long time since I've drafted on Underdog, because I paced myself so badly. I had to do them all on DK, and I feel a little out of my element, more than I thought I would. Stealing. Greg, I missed who was stealing. I apologize. But yeah, let's see. Let's go through. Keep the Chief going. Triple receiver, one running back. Makes a lot of sense. We see 3 elite QBs go off the board in this 4th round. Nothing uncommon there. Buck taking Devonta Smith. Buck, a noted AJ Brown disbeliever. Thinks AJ Brown's going to 0. I think that's you that said that. See now I can make up my own conspiracy theories, Buck, and it's unstoppable. But I think I remember you sharing some concern about that. Brian says RBs are falling to the 84 turn more than before. Can double tap there. Yeah, I believe that. Okay, that was not me. You know what, Buck? I think it was actually Kevin. I think I need sleep. If you know what, that could be said for anyone who tuned into this when it began, because it was an early. That was my nipples, my joints. See, if there is a continuum of conspiratorial belief, you might be somewhere, but my nipples, my choice is another standard deviation past even you and your what was it? Interesting opinions. Yes, some opinions. Yeah. Monty, Caleb, Tracy, I also like Pollard. Yeah, this area, I think you can get. Yeah, exactly the guys you said. I find myself taking a lot of Tony Pollard, and maybe I'd feel better with him as my second or third running back, and then taking JMO or Rashee Rice, doing like a double stack thing here. But again, I do try to not build the same team every time. Like, I don't do a lot of Hampton McCaffrey here, so I'm happy to do this time. But yeah, again, it's hard for me because I do fall into these habits. So I don't mind that I did something a little different. The only thing I don't like about Hampton is you were able to get him pretty much a full round earlier in BBM. So, you are probably behind some very similarly constructed teams when you're taking him at the 3-4 turn, when he was going significantly earlier. It's a wrap. Double tapping quarterback, going Burrow, Hurts, making me feel better about Hurts. Fields, kind of an interesting choice there. One receiver through 5. You really got to start catching up. Guy next to him only has 2 receivers through 5, so we're probably going to see a whole clump of receivers go at the turns there as those guys try to catch up, where we see this nice little box of orange at the 3, 4, 5 holes. So, people putting together some different strategies here. I'm going to pull up the board so I can start thinking about what I want to do. If I filter by receiver, so I'll probably get a couple guys I like. We'll see what Keep the Chief does as he winds the clock down. He takes Ken Walker. Ken Walker, who famously Buck has hidden upside for, but will not reveal it. He might be saving it for a video with Davis. He might be saving it for himself. Folks, we just simply don't know. But Buck does have a hidden upside case for one Ken Walker III. Juwan Jennings is going to be a member of this team. Then the question is, who do I add with him? I think it's just Calvin Ridley. I think we'll take Jennings and Ridley. These are 2 of my highest exposed receivers, and being this is my last draft, we're just going to play the hits. So I will never complain about a room of Neighbors, Worthy, Jennings, and Ridley. That's sort of what you get here. I'll come out with it post-draft. Got to see what happens. That is fair, Buck. I'm not trying to cajole it out of you, but I did want you to know it has lived rent-free in my head. Every time I see the name, I say, what is Buck's hidden upside? And I just left to wonder. I have some shares of Hampton at 55, so taking him at 40-ish is hard for me. Yeah, and I agree. It is hard, but I don't think it makes him unclickable. And I think you can make that argument about so many players. And, we have a lot more information now than we had then. So there's going to be a lot of teams that took Hampton at 55 plus that also have guys that we're kind of out on, like a J.K. Dobbins, at 120 or McMillan in the 70s. Like, it's hard to remember. It's like you don't lose a player because you got them at worse value. You just get somebody else, and if you can make it up, you can get different combos. But yeah, obviously you would have rather gotten him, in the 50s than they're at 37. Again, same thing with Davante Adams, right? Like people were taking him significantly later. I have quite a bit of Davante Adams from the late 40s, I think, late 40s, maybe even later than that. People were kind of out on him, and now people are fully reinvested in Davante Adams over with the Rams. A small run of running backs goes. Let's see what our friends are doing. Keep the Chief adding Deebo Samuel to his team. Buck adding David Montgomery to his. All of these picks make sense. Let's see. The world is still sleeping on Calvin this year. I agree. 61 feels a little aggressive, but he is a classic example of the thing we all know that's going to happen happens, and then they rise. Like when they add Cam Ward, I think Calvin Ridley is going to get a bump because he now has Cam Ward throwing to him, even though it's like all fully known. It somehow is like ends up not being priced in. Great point. You just need your 5th round pick to beat somebody else's. I have some Adams at like 60. His rise has been wild. Yeah, his game, he's older, but his game ages pretty gracefully. And, we all knew he wasn't going to be back with the Jets, a place that we weren't excited to have him. And yet people early on in the draft cycles act like a guy who's unsigned or don't know where they're going is like not going to play. Like we do this all too often, and it's pretty rare that actually occurs. I say that I say that because I have a lot of Keenan Allen, and I'm kind of scared because I really want him to sign somewhere and not just like decide he actually wants to be a Condé Nast food critic. I hope he truly is just back with Chicago. But if that happens, he's going to be a huge riser. But yeah, the Adams thing was weird because it felt like the only places he could go, he was going to get improved quarterback play. And arguably, now he's got to compete with Puka there. So, it's not like, it's not completely without risk, but Stafford showed that he could support Puka and Kupp on the same team. So I see the through line there with Adams. So I'm happy to take Adams where he goes now. But yeah, he definitely was kind of an interesting story this summer. Brian H gets Mahomes late. That's a nice stack for him, getting him with Rice. Cam hyping him up in his little Fortnite street is life affirming. Man, I wish I had someone hyping me up in their Fortnite street. I think that would mean a lot to me. I guess I just have to become a member of the Tennessee Titans, and Cam Ward would do that. But yeah, it is nice to see. I mean, he was saying nice things about Treylon Burks, and my God, if you can say nice things about Treylon Burks, you truly are either a very kind soul or are capable of being a pathological liar. And I think Cam Ward's just a good guy. I think he's just a good guy. So, we'll see. Baker goes. I would love Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden does not come to me. If I sort by ADP, I think I would like Hawkinson on this team. The only QB I could consider Purdy. That would be really early. I don't know if I want Aaron Jones. I think I'm just going to say go Titans and add Tony Pollard to this team. Is it possibly really bad to build a Titans team? Yes, it could be very bad. I remember doing this with the Panthers, not last year, but the year before, and it did not work out the first year of the Bryce Young experience. But hopefully the Cam Ward experience is nothing like that. So yeah, I do want to make some team bets, and the Titans are one of those bets you can make over on this side of the board. The ADPs kind of line up. It's possible Tennessee adds somebody, but I don't know. They're obviously not using a first round capital on a running back. I would be very surprised if they took a running back in the second or third. Being that they have a lot of other needs, in the trenches as well. What those needs are, I'm not 100% sure, but smarter people than I have said that. So I would be surprised if they took somebody. I would be much more worried if I was Tajay Spears than Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard looked so much better last year, a full year removed off of the foot injury, willing to play through anything. I mean, he would go missed practice, and then play his full complement of snaps. I remember this from DFS because, you'd have like the $4,400 Tajay Spears you'd be ready to jam in. And then, it's like, nope, Tony Pollard's in. Time to redo your lineup. Abandon the Run, a very ironic name because Abandon the Run has gone 4 running backs in a row. My God. That is aggressive. Our friend Buck takes Steph Diggs. He gets the Knicks Sutton stack. Nice little stack there. Keep the Chief. He gets Kyler to go with his Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's pretty nice there. So, people building some pretty strong teams. LeQuint Allen to the Titans would be pretty sweet for me. Greg, I have a lot of LeQuint Allen. So I just want him to be playing football in the United States of America next season, and I would be happy. But we'll see. Again, when it comes to some of these kind of edge case rookies, being able to pass block is one of the things. Okay, I'll say this. Not being able to pass block will keep you off the field. Being a good pass blocker might help you get on the field, but there are some running backs that, simply being such a horrendous in pass protection really limits their ability to get on the field. And so at least that's one thing with LeQuint Allen we don't have to worry about. I think he did not run at the combine because he was hurt. I can't remember. I do remember being disappointed he did not run because I thought, I was high on him coming into the combine. I've backed off of him quite a bit, but hopefully he's able to do that. I think at the very least he could be a third down back in the league. And if we're getting a third down back who's playing by the end of the season in the 20th round, then that's all you can realistically hope for, short of one of those like crazy home run picks. Cam Scatabo, my favorite pick, goes at 97. So once again, he did not make it past 100 in 2 drafts in a row. Same. I assume you're talking about the LeQuint Allen there. Brock Purdy goes. He's someone that I would have taken, but he goes to the Kittle drafter, so he does find a good home. So that is understandable. I think in my position, this is looking like a very Cam Ward kind of team. The question for me will be, do I reach at 133 or do I pray at 156? We will just have to see. It does look like QBs might be thinning out a little bit. I probably do need to add a 5th receiver in this range. Hopefully one of these guys comes around because there's some playable names. Some playable names that I'm seeing. Again, I could do a naked Justin Fields team. I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world where I am in the draft. I also don't want all of my Justin Fields teams to be Garrett Wilson teams because, it's like Garrett Wilson gets hurt, but Justin Fields still has a great season. Well, Wilson's going to drag me down. So he's certainly a possibility, especially being that, Neighbors is tough to stack because we don't know who. This stack's already gone. And then, I don't need to bend over backwards to try to force a super late stack. So let's see what comes around to us here. Sorting by ADP. McMillan would be nice. I think he's fallen too far. Stephanie Hayes, however, just does not want me to have anything nice in this world, and that's understandable. It is a cruel world we live in. Justin Fields even went. I'm going to queue up Marvin Mims here. Evan Ingram would be interesting, going kind of a two higher end tight ends, but I don't know if that's what I want to do. I could continue and take Jordan Mason. So I'm going to take Mason here. And now I have, I've got a little mini Vikings thing going on here that goes with my little mini Titans thing going on. Yeah, unfortunately, the way it shook out. McMillan, McMillan going in the 70s was bad, right? Because I think it was more likely than not that Godwin came back. But then we really punished him. Like, he's still going to have a job. I think he's better than some of the other receivers going in that range. Like, I'd certainly rather have Jalen McMillan than Hollywood Brown myself. And he's shown a lot of contingent upside. So I think he's fallen a little too far for just how good and productive he was last season. So, he's a guy I was not taking in the 70s because I did think he was going to fall when Godwin came, but he's now fallen in my view, just like he's fallen a little too far. So Tucker Kraft goes. He's a guy I want to try to get more of, and I think in BBM I'm going to try to get more of him. He goes to keep the Chief. This is a nice little stack you could do around 9-10. This Jordan Love, Tucker Kraft. I think there's a chance if Green Bay does not take another elite receiver early and they kind of just throw that hodgepodge of wide receivers out, I could see a world where Tucker Kraft is the leading receiver on the Packers. I don't think that's like outrageous. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I certainly think it's in the range of outcomes. So, where you get him there at 112, that's pretty good. McMillan should go next to Downs. Yeah, I don't disagree with this. I would rather have McMillan than Downs myself. I think you have much better quarterback play. I think the best ball intelligentsia likes Downs more than Anthony Richardson likes Downs. Like, I will never forget the week, the Downs chalk week last year, and what it actually was like Michael Pittman smash week, and we're all looking at the numbers, with our nasally voices and holding our spreadsheets tight. And it's like, no, A Rich likes throwing the ball to Michael Pittman. Like, it doesn't matter if Downs is better. It doesn't matter, any of those advanced metrics. It's like the quarterback still has to throw the guy the ball. And it seems like Richardson prefers throwing to Pittman than Downs. But we all as a community want Downs to be a thing so badly. I do have... I obviously have strong opinions on the matter, but I agree with you there. I think McMillan should go ahead of him, or at least around him myself. There goes Dak Prescott. Dak does not go to the CeeDee Lamb person. He goes to this guy. All right. Coming back around, another little run of quarterbacks. I think if I could add J.J. McCarthy, I would be happy. Let's see where the QB ADPs are. So at 130. So we'll see. We may or may not get him. I think, we have at least dodged the Jefferson drafter. Have we dodged the Jordan Addison drafter? No. But the Jordan Addison drafter does have Lamar. So let's see. People also do like to randomly take McCarthy unstacked. I don't know. People like taking the young QBs. I think just because they're kind of a little bit of a mystery box. So we'll see. Just because if Rels B passes does not necessarily mean we will get them. Stephanie Hayes, though, my nemesis, has been taking picks I want directly in front of me. So we will see. We will see. Rels takes Colston Loveland, taking the shot on the rookie tight end. Keep the Chief, friend of the program, takes Bashal Tutin. Speaking of significant risers in the draft, at least most people are getting Tutin around this price. You could get him very late early. I have some very early shares of Tutin that I am happy with. I'm going to just queue up McCarthy, and then looking at the board, do I want to reach for Cam Ward? I think I'm going to take the chance. and pass. Ward goes, where are you, Cam Ward? 152. Our next pick is at 156. So it's going to be a little bit of a risk, but I think I am a little torn. I think I'm going to take a chance. We're just going to punt Trey Harris, and we are going to pray. We're going to pray that we get Cam Ward coming around. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Brian Hughes, this is my bums team. Have a share of B-Rob and Pittman, who I have less than 2 of. Well, first of all, Brian, thank you for coming by. You were in our last draft. Somebody shouted you out and said that they didn't think you were here, but now you're here, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy you come by. So thank you. Let's look at what you got here. Gibbs, McBride, JSN, Rashee Rice, Ted McMillan, James Conner, Mahomes, Kupp, Kelsey, Pittman, Beaver. I wouldn't call this a bums team. It's a great team. I don't take much. I should be taking more Pittman because I do think that if A-Rich wins the job, we're going to be wondering why we were taking Pittman at 116. Obviously, the back injury stuff is a little bit concerning. I think that's why early in BBM or in the big board, I wasn't taking him, because it sounds like he's like, oh, I should have had back surgery and never did. And it's like, okay, is it good now? Like, what's going on there, buddy? Healthy, I think, we were taking him in the 3rd or 4th round last year, and frankly, again, if Richardson's the guy, Pittman's huge, and even if it's Jones, I don't think Pittman goes to 0. So I like the pick. B-Rob, though, I will say I have very little B-Rob because I am convinced they're going to add somebody. And at the end of the year, B-Rob's usage kind of started sketching me out. They were working in McNichol. I know Eckler kind of does his own thing, but the fact that they were trying to work McNichol in, and B-Rob just frankly didn't look very good late in the season, I am worried about him. And then Keenan Allen, who we're going to be taking in the 120s when he re-signs with Chicago. So I like that team that you have put together. Keep the Chief is also trying to mix up my exposure. Yeah, it's just too late for me when I with this being my final draft. I'm just going to play the hits, and anything I did now is it's too late to change exposures. I will say big board strategy or post draft strategy. I think what I'm going to try to do is be kind of even when it comes to BBM, and then in individual contests do kind of wild exposures, like in the puppy 4, say this is Cam Scatterbo and I'm going to take him every single time and try to get 60 to 80% exposures on certain players who I just want to make a huge bet on. I don't think I want to do that in BBM because BBM is frankly very expensive. But who knows? Maybe BBM is the contest I do that with. But I think I want to, when it comes to exposure, be very kind of contest conscious versus overall, and be if player X is who you need, then in this contest I am going to absolutely smash. And if they get hurt, then I'm just not winning the mini Schnauzer 5. So don't know if that's a good strategy or not, but I do want to try to do that more than just draft without a plan as far as how I want to do teams. I have way too much Keenan, 25%. He's hard not to click, especially in this range he goes in. I don't like QJ. I like Leggett, but he had foot surgery, which is weird, and the Panthers are almost undoubtedly going to take somebody. Stephanie Highs, please do not take Cam Ward from me. You only have one QB, and I'm scared you're going to do it. Stephanie, who has been taking everybody I love from me, but leaves me Cam Ward. That was very nice of you. Very nice of you, Steph. So I will take Ward. I like Jalen Knoll a lot, but again, I think I'm going to go back to the Dallas Goedert well. This just feels really late for Goddard. I don't think I want to take A-Rich here. This is going to be a 3 QB team, but that third QB is going to be like a Dart Milrow type, is how I'm thinking about it. So I don't mind adding Goddard to this crew. Certainly arguments for Thielen, Knoll, Wicks. I think they would have all been fine picks there, but happy to get that little bit of falling value on him. Again, I don't think his price is super efficient. Same here. Did big stands pre-draft, but relatively flat in BBM. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm doing it too. Like, 43% Jack Betch. Like I like Jack Betch a lot, but I don't want to be tied like that in, again, like I'm probably going to do over 1,000 drafts before, when this is all done. So if I want to get a little loose in these pre-draft contests, like, when April rolls around, people will like barely remember that the big board happened, but right now it's all we have. So it seems like super important. And I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm saying like it's going to end up being a much smaller piece of the overall like pie, the way that I'm going to be drafting this year. So I did not mind doing kind of crazy stuff, because I also think the big board ADPs are a lot less efficient than the BBM ones. And I don't mean think, they will be, right? Like someone like Jalen Knoll just went at 164. He's not going to be at 164 in BBM. He's either going to be a lot higher or a lot lower. And the same goes for so many of these rookies. And so you could end up with pretty much super teams that are going to be completely, you just cannot build them in BBM. And, trying to predict who those players are, I think can be one of the big edges you have here, which is, again, going back to a discussion that I had last stream, and we were talking about it in the Discord, why I like double elite tight ends so much in the big board is because the elite tight ends are not going to move in price. Like they're maybe a few picks here and there, but like McBride and Bowers, short of like some injury thing, they're going to keep going around where they're going. But these late rookies that you're getting a lot of them are going to fly up. So if you can lock in that hyper elite tight end production and then build out your receiver and running back rooms with these rookies, you're going to end up with teams that are going to be impossible to build in BBM, that are going to be really good, but then also have, production coming at a position that's so hard to get. So that's why I like doing like double elite tight end in the big board. Whereas in BBM, where it's a lot more efficient, you are knowingly sacrificing a lot of, receiver or running back value to make that work. It's a lot harder to find the diamonds in the rough in BBM than in the big board. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that the build goes out the window, but I'm saying I think it's something that is underdone in the big board. Smooth exposure is boring to me. I have 15 guys over 25%. Yeah, well, that's the other thing is it's like this does have to be fun, because we literally are projected to make the BBM finals 1 in every 8 years. Like, the sad reality is it's extremely hard to be profitable in this. So at least we should be having some fun. Like we should at least be like taking guys we like and people we want to root for. Not to the extent that we're like hemorrhaging money and value, but there is something to be said of keeping these fun, or it will just become a slog and not like, something enjoyable. Make your bets, Chief. This is the way. Yes, as the immortal David Kitchen has taught us all, you do need to live a little. I was trying not to quote him, but all I did was just paraphrase him, but worse. But yeah, you do have to live a little, especially in these pre-draft contests. Sorry, I did not keep the board up that round. I got excited talking about Best Ball Mania coming up. Damian Martinez at 171. He has rocketed up boards. Geno Smith at 175. He's somebody I would not have minded taking late, even unstacked. I think I think he's a huge value in this contest. He's so much better in a dome. Now he has, Bowers to throw to. They're going to add somebody at running back. If they add another receiver, Myers is fine, but I think Myers as like a third receiver is actually really strong. As a second receiver versus being kind of the alpha, which is a little tougher of a role for him. So I quite like Geno. I quite like Geno. We get in our heads doing these drafts every day. It's still gambling, y'all. Yeah, you are putting your faith in somebody else's hands in these drafts. So A-Rich goes. I would have taken A-Rich. You know what? I'm just gonna take Shedeur Sanders and hope that he does go to the Giants here. And then the question is, who else am I taking? If I go to, I'm going to take Braylon Allen. I know I took Braylon Allen last draft, and that's not super exciting stuff, but I do not mind him as a fifth running back here. And we're kind of at a little more choose your own adventure-y in these receivers. I could have taken any of these guys, but I do think Braylon Allen's kind of the last of the backup running backs I'm really into. Eckler's fine, but I think he's kind of got a role that it is what it is. And, Will Shipley, I want to think he's the guy, but, he could be the Izzy Abanikanda of, guy that we're all taking because he's the backup behind an elite running back. And then they just draft one or two running backs and all of a sudden Will Shipley is like a remember that guy kind of guy. Added Braylon Allen there, pulling up the board. Keep the Chief taking Zach Ertz. I like that. This is very late compared to DK. On DK, Zach Ertz goes at like 149, which is a little crazy to me, but that's the price. Our friend Buck checking in on him. I know he got Ferguson there. Thielen, Brenton Strange, and Dyami Brown. Dyami Brown, obviously somebody that I had targeted last draft, but let slip through the cracks. He makes a ton of sense to pair with Trevor Lawrence, so I like that pick for Buck there. Our friend Brian takes Rashard Smith, one of my favorite late round running back clicks. Again, a converted wide receiver, so obviously has the pass catching chops. Pretty much took SMU, put him on his back, and carried him to the college football playoffs single-handedly. So I think there are high levels of dog in Rashard Smith. I like him as one of the late round picks. Just when I think I'm out, underdog pulls me back in. Did I miss something? Because I don't have anything else up. If you were here at the beginning, I mentioned how I'm not good at multitasking, so I don't have like Twitter or anything up. So hopefully there is some positive news that you're referring to, or it's just underdog pulled you back in, which is a perfectly relatable thing that has happened to pretty much all of us. Ja'Tavion Sanders goes to the Bryce Young drafter. I like Ja'Tavion Sanders. I do have worry Carolina could add a tight end. I don't know that Sanders was so good that he's, locked in at staving off all competition, but I do not mind him here late in the draft. Oh my God. A little board 2. Greg V said Little Board 2 just dropped. Keep the Chief says Little Board 2. My God, we might be okay. We might have made it. I cannot believe. Closes Thursday, 50 entry max, 56K entry. Oh my gosh. So I might actually be able to stream tomorrow. I might stream some little boards because I thought I wasn't going to be able to, and in really bad news, I'm actually going to a non-underdog state starting on Thursday for a little over a week. So the BBM will launch, and I will have to wait a week before doing it and streaming. And I am, it is kind of Armageddon here, because I really have enjoyed doing this and having you all here and streaming. And I'm gonna have to go without for a bit. I'm considering doing some videos, but I've never actually done a pre-recorded video, so we'll see. But man, little board streamers rejoice, or not. Yes, you're gonna miss the ADP values. Yeah, this has legitimately kept me up at night, Brian, because there are just going to be teams that I am not going to get. I'm telling myself that's okay. A lot of the best teams are drafted in May. They don't necessarily have to happen on opening day. That's the cope. If you can hear this is me coping and saying things. I'm not saying anything I don't believe, but I wish I believed it a little harder. I am disappointed I will not be here on opening day, but I will be here all summer. And, BBM is not the only contest. But yeah, Little Board 1 was 188.4K entries. Jumping on Alaska Cruise with no Wi-Fi, rip. Not great. No. We're in the same boat. Well, actually, we're not in the same boat. You're in a literal boat. I will not be on a boat. And Slayton went, who I was going to take. So now I'm kind of here. I'll take Westbrook Ikine, and I'll take Chig. We'll finish out this giant Titans stack. I'll take Westbrook Ikine because I'm a Dolphins fan and I need something to hope for. And Westbrook Ikine being a good receiver is all I have left. But yeah, I'm definitely jealous of the Alaska Cruise. I've never been on an Alaska Cruise. I have been to Alaska and I highly recommend it. Actually flew to Fairbanks and drove around for about 2 weeks, and it's really one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But I do have to imagine it is a different experience from a boat, and you get to go to a lot of different places you cannot access by car in Alaska. So that's pretty awesome. Greg, I hope you have a lot of fun, because that sounds really cool. My 12th place team last year was drafted in August. Well, hope springs eternal for me then, Brian. That is awesome to hear. Congratulations on finishing 12th. That's great. I was just happy to get one big board finals team. Oh, no, you're not talking big board. You're talking BBM. I did not have any BBM finals teams. I had 5 semis teams, and none of them made it. But I did get one big board team to the finals, and then I don't even remember the smaller contests that I got through, like various flocks and mini doodle 8s and whatnot. But of the big contests, I got one big board team. I'm very hopeful I can get some BBM teams through, because that is a really fun sweat. Actually, I'd say it's a really fun sweat, but I had no T. Higgins last year, like anywhere. Like I just wasn't drafting him, so I kind of knew right away I did not need to get sweaty. But it is fun having that hope, and looking at the teams and looking at the other teams in the finals. It's super cool to get there, and I hope to get some teams in again this season. Passes through Glacier Bay National Park, pretty stoked, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I think when I went there, I did a day boat through Glacier Bay National Park and Kenai Fjords, and it's stunning there. It's so beautiful. It's taking touching grass to another level going out to Alaska, because it's just so remote, and it's beautiful. Definitely have fun. Definitely have. Do not miss having no Wi-Fi. You will not miss it. I promise. Tori Horton goes to Stephanie Hayes. Stephanie Hayes was my nemesis throughout this draft, constantly taking people I wanted. But that is the way of things. Keep the Chief adds Nick Chubb. He saw the squat video and said, I will not be left left off of this train. I am drafting Nick Chubb. Our friend Buck takes Mike Williams and Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, of course, hopefully he's not waiting in the green room still as Greg is, disembarking from his cruise. But, if Jalen Milroe does go in the first round, we're all going to say, I can't believe we could take Jalen Milroe in the 17th. So that's a guy I've been taking more of, who I legitimately didn't even have ranked early in the season. Hall of Fame talent in the 18th, brothers. Hall of Fame talent, but unfortunately his knees are, I believe, made of the same material that Gumby is made out of. They appear to be too flexible, and it is sad because I love Nick Chubb. All accounts are he is an absolutely phenomenal human being as well. So it is a shame to see him just not being able to stay healthy, because I like Nick Chubb, but my God, it has just been such a what could have been kind of career from him. I wanted Milroe on this team. Wasn't going to pick him before 200 though. Yeah, I mean, I've just honestly, when you're in round 16 on, I've found you just got to, if you want a guy, it doesn't even matter if you're supposed to go at 233. If they're really who you want, just take them, because these guys are all the same. Like, we're at the point of the auction draft where these are all $1 players, and maybe round 17 or $2 players. Like, you're just going to be mad at yourself for missing them. At least that's been what I've been trying to do more fair. I'm a Browns fan. He is my guy. Good locker room guy for Tootin and Neil to look up to. Yes, that is true. Hey, I'm hoping for good things from the Browns. One of my close friends of mine is a Browns fan. I used to go to a Browns backers bar. I'm a Dolphins fan back in the college days, and they would turn on the Dolphins on one TV for me, so I could watch my Fins while everyone else had the Browns on. So they were good people there. But another long suffering fan base. I do. It is tough to see because it's been a long time. It's been a long time for poor Cleveland. So I will add Trey Tucker to this team as a kind of late round receiver, and then I'll take Taj Brooks, just another running back flyer. I don't really need a whole lot more. Quint Allen and Taj Brooks will be my last selection in the big board. So reviewing the team, we've got J.J. McCarthy, Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. The kids are in charge of this QB room. Running back room of CMC, Omarion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Jordan Mason, Braylon Allen, and Taj Brooks. Wide receiver room of Malik Neighbors, Xavier Worthy, Juwan Jennings, Calvin Ridley, Marvin Mims, Trey Harris, Westbrook Akine, and Trey Tucker. And tight ends of Hawkinson, Goddard, and Chig. So I do not mind how this team ended up. I quite like this team. I will let the draft finish out. Why the big stand on Fetch? I think, he's a converted tight end, big-bodied guy. Apparently there's a big delta between what the tape people see and what the stats people are looking at. And the tape bros say this guy could be legit in the NFL, whereas the stats haven't always borne that out. I think he's, he had a huge Senior Bowl, so he got a lot of steam then. A lot of my drafts I did shortly after after the Super Bowl, so I definitely was caught up in a little bit of the hype, but I still think there's a good chance he's a second, third round pick. And just kind of watching him play, he looks like the kind of guy that is going to work his way onto the field sooner than later. And a lot of those picks, I got him in the 19th, 18th to 20th round. So, not a lot of draft capital, as far as big board draft capital on him. But again, it's very important to not hold on to your priors. If he goes in the 5th round, and in this, there's no drumbeat at training camp or rookie camp, then I will not be anywhere near that in other contests. But, he just ended up being one of those big stand kind of guys that I was taking here. So Let's see. Keep the Chief takes Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Exciting pick there. Our friend Buck takes Khalil Herbert and Sean Tucker. Brian takes Daniel Jones and Tyler Higbee. So everyone, thank you all so much. I'm so happy to hear that there is a little board too, because now I may stream again before the draft. But if you could please like and subscribe. As of early this morning, I was at 49 subs. So if we could get to 50, I would be, best ball euphoric. But again, thanks everyone for hanging out. I'm so excited to keep on drafting with you, and we'll be doing this all summer. And I'm going to sign off. I highly recommend heading over to Best Ball Breakfast, and I'll see you all soon. Hey, keep the Chief. Thanks for drafting. I really appreciate having y'all here. Take care, everyone.